Dr. Nayak. Dr. Nayak is presently working in Chandigarh in the Regional Institute of English. And we are really happy that we have him here among ourselves. So some words about Dr. Nayak. Dr. Gopal Chandra Nayak teaches language and literature to MA English students, and he teaches action research and communication skills to the participants of postgraduate certificate in teaching English, along with conducting training sessions in the continuous professional development program and other need-based training programs conducted by the Regional Institute of English, Chandigarh. His research areas include social emotional learning, emotional intelligence, and teacher education. He had 7 years of teaching experience with postgraduate students mainly. He, coming to his academics, he had his MA degree from Sambalpur University, Odisha, B.Ed English, he got his MPhil, and he obtained his PhD, all three from EFLU Hyderabad. And he cleared NET soon after he got his PhD. Then he entered into the service and presently working, as I have already said, he is presently working as an assistant professor at the Regional Institute of English, Chandigarh. Okay, I am very happy that we have the ELT expert like Dr. Nayak among us, and we hope that our students would be really benefited by your lecture and the interactive sessions that would follow your lectures. Okay, so now I would like to hand the podium, this virtual podium, to Dr. Nayak, and students, you please carefully listen to what he is going to deliberate. And now, please over to Dr. Nayak. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, dear Kanak. Thank you to the principal, Dr. Anandita, and thanks a lot, Krishanu sir and Debujay sir, and I think I'm forgetting the names, but all the faculty members for giving me the privilege of. I think there is some audio is on. Okay,
Dear
fine.
students, please, 1 second. Dear students, please mute your microphones. Dear students, some of you may be that you have forgot to turn your microphone off. Please turn it off. Okay, there should be no disturbance here. Okay, in between the speech, amidst the speech, if you need to say something, you must do as Dr. Nayak has already instructed. Okay, thank you. Over to Dr. Nayak.
Right. So I'm thankful to all of you, to the principal, to the faculty members inviting me for this lecture. And I hope what we will share today will be useful to you. What I could learn from Dr. Kanak is that I should have some kind of introductory lecture on the ELT, because I was informed that you have not done a lot of study in that area, and this is the first paper that is introduced to you. So what I thought, instead of so in my lecture, let me give a of what my objective of this session is. I hope you are able to hear me clearly. If there is any problem with the audio or in the visual, please let me know so that we know and we can fix it. Is it clear, Shanu sir, my audio and my the PPT?
So yeah, the audio is clear, but there is I think a net problem on your side. So that is why your the refresh rate of your visual is not fluid.
Okay.
So no problem. You please go ahead. No problem. Because you are presenting on the screen now, slideshow. So if you have any you any other, it will boost up your internet speed here on laptop.
Right. No, other devices are not. Yes. If there is any problem, I can students, and they, it will be clear. But I should know if it is not, clear. I should know. Let me check. Fine. So what my objective of this session is, I'm trying to, introduce you to the English language teaching, and this is what I do. I encourage all the students to, do it in a very interactive way. So what my points of view and what I feel should be useful to you, I have put it in the slide, and I am going to introduce, and I'm going to talk about those points. But if you have any questions, any problems, or any comments, or anything that you feel which will be useful to you, can you let me know. So you can simultaneously you can use the chat box also. If you have any thoughts coming, any questions, you can put it in the chat box. Fine. Okay, so let me start with if you as it is visible to all of you. This is the introduction to English language teaching. So my first question is to all of you. Are you able to see the PPT now, Krishna sir?
Yeah, I can see the PPT. I request all my students to pin the PPT, okay, on your screen. To pin the PPT on your screen.
Right. So my first question to all the students and the participants who have joined is, what have what is your idea when you about ELT? When you say, when someone is saying either it is ELT or ELE, English language teaching or English language education, what comes to your mind? You can put it in the chat box. Please put it in the chat box. What you have understood. What is your idea on ELT? What is ELT? Put it in the chat box if you're listening to me. Anything, any idea? When you hear English language teaching, what is there? We have three keywords, and then we have your language, and there is I'm giving you maybe a minute or so. Please put it in the chat box. Audio is clear, sir? Is it clear to you? And I hope to the students.
So it's clear.
Oh, fine. I got one response. Teaching English to non-native speakers. Okay, fine. When we are talking about teaching English, we mean to non-native speakers. Yes. Any other idea which is coming? What comes to your mind when you say teaching English? The way to teach the language so minutely so that every student can understand. Very good. Very good. Any other idea from any students? What can you associate? Any word, any thought which is coming to your mind when you hear the word ELT? Please let me know. What comes to your mind? So let us see. I know when you say you have three words here: English language teaching, right? So when you say English, it is the whole language, like your own Bengali or in Hindi or any language for that matter. And language is okay. English language teaching is a course that helps us to grab the idea about teaching a student. Very good, very good. So English is it's a language like any other language, and a language is something which has a lot of things. If you say language has so many things. We will see what are the things when we mean language. When we say language, and teaching also involves many things, right? Teaching involves so many things. Can you name few? Yeah, in the previous okay, the teaching of English to speakers of other language, fine. And you have also mentioned there are, English language teaching is a course that helps us to grab the idea about teaching. So you have mentioned one right. So what part we'll see when we are seeing, when we are talking about English language teaching, we are not talking about one, but we are talking about so many things, right? So it is universe in itself, English language teaching. Fine. Second thing is that why should we teach English language? As you rightly said, that English is not our mother tongue, and we are teaching in a non-native situation, and we understand what are the different components of the language and how it will see it. And then the second question comes to us: why teach English? What is the need of teaching English? If you teach English, there will be any problem. Why do we have English department? You are studying English honors. Why should you study? What is the practical benefit or any benefit that you should get? Fine. The way to teach the English language so everyone can understand easily and express their feelings through the language. Okay, international communication can be built up easily. Very good, very good. So you are one thing that you answered is that why one response is that yes, if you need a language where there could be communication, and that could be from it could be international communication, and this is one thing. Second thing, that when you learn English, you get a lot of benefits. You get access to the knowledge. Your higher education is available in English. You have employment opportunities. Your a lot of national newspaper are coming in English. You have new channel in English. You have the knowledge which is captured in English. So English is a gateway to the knowledge, to opportunity, to good career, to good life, and to many other practical benefits that you can name. Right? English language helps us to make communication easily. Perfectly all right. Yes. So that's why we have to study English. But if you look at I think all of you are aware that our new educational policy has come up, 2020 NEP, and it says that there are many debate and discussions which are going around the NEP, and they have one concept which is introduced is when we are talking about English language education, when should we start it? We now India is in a position that we cannot do away with English because of the historical circumstances, because of your colonization and all these things introduce we are introduced English, and it has given a lot of benefits to us. So English is not only a language, but English is a language which is helping a nation grow, which is in helping a particular individual grow. He will be someone else, he will be in a better position if he knows a foreign language, and here we are talking about English, right? So what you should know, and it is a very valid question that why, right? When we are reading this paper, why you should be careful, why you should learn it, right? Why you should devote time and learn the language, because it has immense potential. It gives you a lot of benefit. If you like to become a scientist, without English language you cannot present your thoughts, your ideas, and all these things in global platform. Even if you can, there are many other ways, but it is still something which will be problematic for you. So knowing English will be definitely help you to move ahead in your career, in giving you a lot of employment opportunities, a lot of acceptance, a lot of communications with different nations is possible, and that's why we are spending time in English language teaching. If you see, there are a lot of agencies like British Council and Regional English Language Office by American Embassy. They are doing a lot of business, and they are selling the language, and they are educating, and they are also letting people know. You have IELTS and TOEFL and TESOL, so many courses which are offered by the native countries like USA and uh, you know UK. Fine. Okay, another point is coming. I'll say not only English. If we learn more languages, we may know more about their literature, grammar, and we may put those ideas into our mother tongue, that is Bengali. Perfectly all right. This is what you are saying, Shubham Tripathi. That I'm so happy to receive all these comments from all the students that and the points that you are talking about a multilingual approach, and this is what your national education policy also says, that it is not only teaching only one language, but let us teach many languages to the students. And they have also pointed that when the children are when they are, if we introduce it at the initial stage, in the first 5 years to 8 years, the brain is very fertile, and the neuroplasticity, it helps people to get and pick up language very quickly. So yes, so if you know side by side your Bengali, your English and Hindi and many other language, it is very beneficial. But here we are talking about English because it has, by many circumstances, it has become an international language and globally accepted language. There are other languages like French and German, and other languages are also there, but that is not as widely used as English. You find everywhere. So one has to learn English. Then what is another important question is those people who are the teachers of English, those of you who would also like to be teachers of English, or you like to take up employment or something like that. How to teach English, how to acquire English, and this is what the ELT engages with. English language teaching, it tries to understand all the issues, all the factors which are surrounding this English language teaching, how to teach a language, what are the best way, and there are not one best way. There are so many things which comes to your mind when we are talking about English language teaching. All right. So now let us go to the next slide. Fine. It is, let us look at any comment on it. If you like to comment on it, this is only these points which I have mentioned here. You have numerous factors which are involved in each factor. This is only to not to confuse you with more information. I have just put it simply the important branches or the important factors which we take into account when we talk about ELT. Right? Any comment on it? When we are talking about ELT, we are talking about the English language, right? We are talking about a person who is called a learner, right? A learner is involved in any teaching or learning situation. There is a language. Here in this situation, in English language teaching situation, we have our English language, we have the learner, we have a person called teacher who is teaching. The teaching learning process is happening through a medium, through materials, right? There is, how can you teach? You have materials, right? What does materials involve? You have your books, you have your many other things. I'll come to that. And you have methods. In certain way, certain things are taught. You have all this teaching learning process takes place in a space, and we have created a space which we call classroom, and we have tried to improve the classroom. We'll see. I have another session with you tomorrow. Then we will discuss in detail the classroom. Any other point which you will like to mention when you are talking about ELT? I'm waiting for a minute for your response. Please type. What else can you think about? Does ELT mean English literature? Because many people learn how to speak in English only. No, when we are talking about ELT, we don't mean it is English literature, but English literature can be a means to teach English. For example, you have your literature, you can take a poem, you can take a prose piece, you can take a novel and teach your students language. For example, you have a lot of stories in the initial stages of in the primary classes, and through the stories, what you want them to learn, they pick up the English language through the stories. So here literature become a medium. It is not the end. So ELT does not mean literature. ELT means the language, English language teaching. Literature can become a medium for ELT. There is another section. If we have separate time, we can discuss how literature can be employed for teaching ELT. So is it clear? Fine. Okay. Any other point from anybody else? So far, any question, any comment? I'll just wait for a minute from your comment so that you get the points clear. If any questions are coming to your mind, any comments, any clarification you need, please put it in the chat box. I'll respond to it. take a minute and put it in the chat box, whatever you like to comment. Vishnu sir, the sound is clear to you, sound and the PPT. I hope you
Yes,
are
clear.
able to hear me clearly and see the visuals.
Yes, clear to me. I ask all the students to pin the presentation slide, okay,
Fine.
on the screen.
Right. Okay. So okay, let me see. There is a comment, structure of English language. Okay. Fine. Structure of sentence and words. Fine. So when you are talking about this is you are talking about what is language. When we say language, what is it consist of? Let us look at the next part. Look at it. When you are talking about the structure of language and words, yes, certainly how it is structured in a very multi-layered fashion. Any language, for example, you talk about your Bengali language. Any language we call technically, this is a technical language, we use it in linguistics, and Dr. Kanak will be able to take you deep into it if you like to study more on these issues, because he is an expert in the field of phonetics. So here I'm just introducing you to the different components, and as you are saying, the structure of language. So the structure of language, how it is structured, how a language is structured. The language is structured like this. You have called something called phoneme. You have the sound p, b, k, and we have 44 phonemes. We have 26 letters, but we have 44 sounds. Sir, are you presenting any PPT? Yes, I am presenting. Are you not able to see?
Okay, student Sahadev and other students who are not,
Okay, so what I can do, I can share 1 second, because the students are not able to see the PPT. So I'm stopping it and doing it again. Fine.
okay. So I ask all my students, please, you can see another slide and another slide of Professor Dr. Gopal Chandra Nayak, and within bracket it will be written Dr. Gopal Chandra Nayak within bracket presentation. Okay, you have to click on the slide and then you have to pin it on your screen. Okay, you know very well how to present, and I think that will not be any problem to our students. So student, you can see that Dr. Gopal Chandra Nayak is presenting his slide. You just pin to screen. You just go to the screen and pin to it.
Okay, can they see now the PPT? Just no,
Yes, yes.
we can see now. We can see. Okay, fine, good, fine. Okay, if you can see the PPT, right. So we are talking about the different, as you were asking, the structure of language. You have in your syllabus a point called the structure of language. Fine. So how the language is structured? Any language is structured. There are smaller unit and there are larger unit. When we are talking, when you are exchanging our ideas through our language, we are using the small units and we are using it in a very organized fashion, and that's how it becomes sensible. It becomes intelligible to the listener. Fine. So let us look at it how it is structured. First, the smallest unit in any language is called phoneme, and in English we have 44 phonemes like p, b, k, all the sounds, the single sounds, the minimal unit. Right? These are called phonemes. We have 26 letters, but we have 44 sounds. And that's where there is problem in pronunciation, because we do not articulate all the 44 sounds, and that is dealt in phonetics. Fine. There, and then after your phonemes are arranged, and they make up something called morpheme. Morpheme can be a word or cannot be a word. For example, here as you see, boys, boys, it has two morphemes. We called it is, one is a bound morpheme and one is a free morpheme. Boy is a free morpheme because it has an independent meaning. Boy stands for something, a boy, right? As you say, what you say. Fine, Kanak. Yes, I'll say Kanak. Fine. Okay. So far, then you have something called this is called plural morpheme. You have s, but s, if it stands independently, it will not make any sense. It has to be with some word to make it plural. So then only it will be meaningful. That's why it is called bound morpheme. It doesn't have an independent meaning. So your morpheme, there are so many ways how morphophonemics is the branch where we study the structure of phoneme. And then you have your past morpheme. For example, play is an independent morpheme, free morpheme, and ed, the past morpheme. Here you have your, these are called past morpheme. So this is bound morpheme. So like that, I'm not taking you to the technical thing, because in ELT it is linguistics. The linguistic contribute, applied linguistics and linguistics, they contribute to ELT. In ELT, we are not discussing this technical thing, which is, it is the branch of study by which is called linguistics, and you have applied linguistics, and the research which is done in linguistic and applied linguistics contributes to ELT, how it can be used in English language teaching, all these things. Suppose here the linguistics, the study in the field of linguistics has given us these phoneme, and what we do, we think how this phoneme or the sound and pronunciation can be taught in English. So this is how the link can be understood between the branches of linguistics and ELT. Fine. Okay, I'll stop there. I'm not, I'm saying myself that I should not, sound technical to you, because I should be able to explain to you as clearly and as without technical jargon. Fine. But I think this is how we can understand. If you don't want to say phoneme, you can say the single sound. Fine. And this is called morpheme. This is how it is organized. Then you have word, right? Here a morpheme can be a word or it cannot be a word, but you have words like any word. For example, morphemes, they make words, and words, they make phrase. For example, I teach, it is a sentence also. But if you say I teach in your college, for example, what is the name of your college, or I am a boy, right? She goes to the market. She goes is become one phrase. Market, another. It is studied in IC analysis, immediate constituent analysis, again linguistics thing. Fine. Then different phrases, one or more phrases can make sentences, and a group of sentences make discourse. Is it clear? This slide is clear. Any doubt on it? Any clarification you would like to you want from me? So this is from the top to bottom. You have the smallest unit giving rise to largest unit, which is called discourse. Discourse is, what is discourse? Discourse is a group of sentences which is used in a particular context to make sense. As we are talking, whatever I am talking, it could be a discourse, because we are talking about in the context of ELT. Fine. And you have pragmatics, but I think we will not look at it. Discourse can be a part of the pragmatic. Is it clear? Should I move to the next slide? If there are no questions, if there are questions and comments, please let me know. Yes, okay. If it is clear, then I'll move to the next slide. Now let us come. That is your structure of language. That is how a language, any language for that matter. This is not only English. You can have your Bengali also. I don't know how many phonemes you have in Bengali, but like that you will have your. And if there are any variations that demands research, I think Kanak did a research like that, because he wanted to found a pattern in his amphila. how your Bengali language is structured or something like that. Fine. So here, next thing, when we are talking about the ELT, we talk about these things. These are called basic skills, right? These are called basic skills. Fine. What are these skills called? These are called basic skills in language teaching. And when we are talking about English language teaching, what is language made up of? When you are teaching someone language, what kind of skill you would like him to acquire? It is these skills which we primarily focus when we talk about ELT, or for that any language. When someone is learning a language, what is he learning? He's learning to listen. Listen means listening with comprehension. When he is learning to speak in that language, he will be able to read in that language and understand, and he will be able to write in that language. And these are additional things like vocabulary and grammar. It will be helping these four skills. We call it LSRW, right? Listening, speaking, reading, writing. So when someone is learning a language, he is learning all these four basic skills. Suppose you would like to learn French, you have to acquire these four basic skills to be able to communicate with anybody, either in oral communication or in written communication. The listening, speaking, this is oral communication. Your reading, writing could be your you know written communication. And that is needed, as we were talking about why we need ELT, why we should spend time in learning ELT, teaching ELT, and the whole industry and the whole business, the publishers, books, researchers, and marketing, all these things which are happening explicitly and implicitly. These are all because it involves practical benefits, and there are many other benefits. But without these things, you'll have a lot of trouble if you don't know a language. For example, if you don't know Bengali and you are in Bengal, right, it will be very difficult. Your communication, your world will shrink. But if you are learning a language, it gives you an added advantage. You have access to the literature, you have access to the knowledge, you have access to the discoveries which are happening and being published in that particular language. You can read, you can communicate, you can look for opportunities in different world, different parts of the country, and that's it adds you. It makes your life better. You become someone better what you are without a language, and you are with a language. So with a language, you are someone else than what you are not without a language. And English, because we are primarily focusing on English, because it has become a part and parcel of our country and many other countries. It becomes a lingua franca, a medium of interacting, communicating with people, and not for its own sake, but for your business, for communication, education, transport, so many things. Right. So here, when we are talking about whenever we talk about ELT, we must include LSRW: listening, speaking, reading, writing. Fine. Any question here? Anything that you like to add here? It is only one thing, but these are called basic skills, and each skills involve so many. As you see, a language has so many components. In the previous slide you saw, let me take you to the slide here. When you are speaking a language, you know that you are speaking a sentence, but a sentence is made up of so many things. Look at it. Once you try to look at it closely, you find all these smallest units, smaller units, they are making the larger units and making the language possible, and we are able to communicate through this. Like that, you have your, in the skills, when you are talking about listening, you cannot teach one listening just like that. Listening involves so many soft skills. I think when I don't know if you are doing something more on ELT, I think you will be exposed to it in a more intense way. But I did not want to give you all the soft skills at this stage. I just wanted you to know that these are the basic skills which involves a lot of soft skills. You cannot teach listening to the students. You can teach the soft skills of listening. You cannot teach the speaking at one day to one particular person. Speaking involves so many things. Speaking involves your pronunciation, rhythm, intonation, learning to speak, clarity, voice, and speaking the words in the proper order. All these, so many things are there in each skills. That's what I wanted to know here. There is one skill, and there are a lot of basic. There are a lot of soft skills. And vocabulary and grammar, these are also important components when it comes to the basic skills, so we include it here in the list. These are the primary basic skills where when we are talking about ELT, when we are talking about teaching and learning any English, this is what we focus on. So a ELT course or an ELT paper must have these units, teaching of skills, right? Okay, is it clear? Should I move to the next slide? Any question here? You can also ask me questions later on when I stop presentation, but I'm taking your questions immediately if you tend to forget. So just feel free to type your responses and any queries, any comments, any new point which you find is relevant. You should go ahead and push in the chat box. Okay, no question. Now let me take you to the next slide then. Fine. Let us talk about, I'll just introduce you to the main idea of what involved in this, in this all these basic skills. So now let us look at listening first. When you are talking about listening, suppose when you listen someone, you listen two things, isn't it? What are the two things which you listen? That one thing is listening for details, and another thing is that listening for main ideas. When you are listening, either you are listening for details or you are listening for main ideas, isn't it? Can you give an example from your day-to-day listening? When you are listening to the teacher, when you are listening to your mother, when you are listening to anyone, your friends, uh, you know, what you listen. Am I clear? When I'm saying when we listen to main thing. We either we listen for details and listen for main ideas. I want example from you. I can either you can type it or you can speak to us. Anyone would like to speak to us? Turn on your mic and talk to us, or you can write it in your chat box. Is it clear? Am I making making myself sensible when I say two things? When you are listening to me, you are either listening to the details or listening to the main point. Okay, listening for the yesterday's lecture to a friend. Okay, what you would like to say? I could not get your point clearly. Listening for the yesterday's lecture to a friend. I mean to say that you want your friend to listen to the lecture by recording it. Yes, that is one thing. But when we listen two things. We listen for details and we listen for main ideas. Let me give example. If examples are not coming from you, let me give examples. Suppose you're listening to a friend, as you are saying about it. You are listening to a friend. Your friend is saying that saying something. And you are listening to him. Let me introduce these two approach, and then I'll give examples to you. There are called bottom-up listening, and that is called top-down listening. Let me give example here and connect to this listening for details and main ideas. What is these two approaches of teaching listening? When we are teaching listening, then we can adopt these two approaches. Do you believe listening should be taught in the classroom, or it is something it happens naturally in the class? Listening from teachers is an example of listening for details. Yes, very good, very good. Sathi Mandal, yeah, Sathi Mandal, I appreciate your point. That when you are listening from teachers, your teachers is telling that tomorrow we are going to look at this chapter and we are going to discuss this, and by evening I am expecting one question from you all, or one assignment you submit this thing. So if you are not listening, paying attention to the detail, you will not be able to meet the criteria of what your teacher is saying. You will not be able to send the question or send the assignment on time. So that listening is listening for details. For example, when you are listening to a train announcement or a flight announcement, from platform number 1, this number of train is going to leave at this particular time, and if you miss that particular information, you will miss the train. So do you see how listening and this These skills are important and it is helpful for our day-to-day functioning. So these are called listening for details. Listening for main ideas. Suppose a news. Suppose you are listening to a a piece of news on a particular news channel, and your friend, your father, or your mother is asking what is the news is all about. So he's asking the main idea. It could be about the China or India, the tension which is taking off. It could be the Ria case. It could be any, national, incident which is happening. And that is, you are not detailing it, but you are just letting him know what is the main idea there. So one listening could have one main idea and it could have many details. So sometime we just listen the details, and sometime no, sometime we just listen the main idea, and sometime we must listen the details, because without listening to the detail you will miss information and that will cause problem in the functioning. So this is what, when we are teaching listening, we teach two things, and your exercise and all these things will be taught in this way. What is bottom? Okay, let me read one chat from you. I was saying that if I could not attend the class today, I'll ask my friend for the details and ideas of today's lecture. Yeah, perfectly all right. Now I can understand your point, Subham Tripathi. Yes. So here, yes, fine. So you are asking the detail, but if you are asking what was the topic of the lecture which you missed, that is main idea. You are just interested in the topic. But if you are asking the detail, that is called detailed listening. Dictation, bottom up listening, yes. Ritika, fine. Bottom up listening, very good. What is the bottom up processing is that this is one technique which we use is dictation. Bottom up, when we say bottom up, that you do not have any idea of what you are listening. You are listening to the grammar point. You are listening to the word. You are listening to the sentence structure, and that's how you are making a sense of what you are listening. Right? So it is bottom up approach, bottom up listening. Top down listening is a listening where you know already these things what you are listening. Suppose you know what your friend is going to say, and even if you don't pay a lot of attention to it, if you are doing something in your mobile, still you will be able to make sense what he is saying. That is called, in top down model, your information which you are listening is already there in your background knowledge. That we call schema, right? So that background knowledge becomes helpful for us when we listen the new information. But in the top down listening, you don't have the information, and if you miss listening, then you will not be able to make sense what you are listening. All right, so this is the two different model of teaching listening, and both listening skills and listening approach are important. Bottom up listening and dictation, as rightly pointed out by Ritvika. Okay, so yeah, this is helpful for teaching listening skills. Right? Is it clear? Listening is clear. Should I move to the next slide then? Okay. Now let us move to the next slide. It is here your speaking. When you are talking about speaking, when you are teaching speaking, what are the speaking involves, it involves so many things, so many sub skills, and then only you will be able to speak. You know how to articulate, you know the word, you need vocabulary, you need good rhythm, you need intonation, you need to know how to appropriately modulate your voice, and so many other sub skills of speaking. Who is a good speaker? Someone who can master all these sub skills. Right. So what are the different stages through which we can teach speaking to someone else? Stage first, when you are introducing a new language and teaching them speaking, practice. What is you give lot of and you can ask from a lot of support system. For example, you are asking, you have given a lot of support system. That is called control practice. What is your name? You are is given in, you move through the in their speaking, you can relax the control. You can slowly move to less controlled practice. You can ask them, introduce each other. You don't say what is your name, and you introduce what is your school and what you are teaching. You don't ask these kind of questions, but you only say this kind of a task. You can say, introduce yourself. And last is your is you are freeing that control. It could be open-ended thing, and they can speak according to the context. Suppose you are asking them, giving them role play. One is a doctor and one is a patient, and how they are going to communicate over a particular point. If there is a disease and is diagnosed with a problem, and how is going to discuss his problem with the doctor. So what we give importance when we are teaching speaking, we give a lot of importance in the meaning before form. Form means your grammatical aspects, right? So when you are speaking, when you are teaching speaking, what we do, we give a lot of importance to the meaning, even if there are problem with the grammatical form, with the articulation, with the other things. We do not become judgmental at that stage. We do not correct it as teachers. What we do is that we give importance to the meaning. Is the meaning communicated? Is he able to communicate his point of view, or is he able to function in the particular language? That is something which is given importance in speaking. For example, you know a foreign language and you do not know it very well, but you still can go to the market and you can buy the grocery, and you can buy vegetable with the small number of words and vocabulary that you have picked up. So we encourage the students in this stage of speaking to make more sense on the meaning, give importance to the meaning. Don't, as teachers, we should not jump into correcting and become very judgmental and start giving instructions in the grammatical form. I don't know how you were taught, but in the traditional classroom we were given a lot of grammar tips, and that's how we were taught, we were asked to go ahead in the language learning journey. But if you do that, there would be a lot of problem, a lot of innovation, and the students will be discouraged to learn the speaking skill. So it is good way to start when you are teaching speaking, to give importance to the meaning. Let the communication happen, even if there are problems. Fine. Then we talk about authenticity in spoken materials. When you are designing any task, what is authenticity? What is the authentic material? I think that thing might have been mentioned in your syllabus. I don't know. I think it's missing or not there. Okay. When we are designing any task, when you are looking at any material in any book, we call it something an authentic material. What is an authentic? This is a technical term. Would you like to respond to it? Have you heard about it? What is an authentic material? What is authenticity? When I'm saying authentic, use of authentic material, okay, the primary sense is the original, as you are saying. That's the But when you are talking about in ELT, it has a special meaning. What is authentic means it is not written or not designed for the pedagogical process, not designed for speaking, not designed for the speaking task, not designed for your language classroom transaction. It is not designed as a textbook. Is designed for the use in the classroom. So authentic material, can you give some examples of authentic material? Authentic material are those materials which are not designed for the pedagogical purposes to be used in the classroom. So suppose, to give an example of to give few example of authentic material, for example, you have got some detergent from the market, and the detergent packet has some writing, some language, and you are bringing the detergent packet to your classroom and using it. That is called authentic material. Yeah, pamphlet, very good. So if you have a pamphlet which is used for election purposes or some other purposes, and you are bringing it to your classroom and making and letting them know, so it is the actual use of language, how the language is used. So what is the debate is there, the use and usage. We should not teach something which is not useful in the outside classroom. Yes, brochure, for example. So any material which are not written for classroom objective, classroom teaching and learning purposes, that material, when it is used for classroom purposes, is called authentic material. So when we are talking about spoken materials, we are also talking about that kind of authenticity in spoken materials. You are designing some task where the learner will feel the urge to, speak in that particular, situation in a context. It should not be a very animated where it is a very, controlled and animated situation where that it is not like real life like. So we should bring task and material when you are speaking, speaking, when you are teaching speaking. That should be real speaking, like real speaking, what people speak in the real context, right? That kind of material we should bring to the classroom to teach speaking to the students, right? So is it clear to you? We have there are different approaches and methods. I think methods we are not covering a lot. Maybe you have an unit we called a TBLT approach, task based language teaching, right? And we give students different tasks and they will do the tasks through languages. That is a method of teaching different skills. I'm not going into that TBLT. That could be a separate session on TBLT. Fine. So if there are questions, any question on speaking, you can put it in the box, or I'll move to the next slide. Okay, let me move to the next slide. No query, fine. So here is your speaking. Okay, speaking. Your reading has also button-down model and interactive model. This is another is added, and it is not neither bottom up not top down. We have three ways of teaching reading skills to the students, and then the different soft skills of reading. So in bottom up model, what we do in bottom up model, the students will rely on the information which he is reading. He doesn't have any background knowledge. For example, you are a student of your honors of English, and you are an art student, but you are reading an article which is about for example physics, or which is some other subject which you don't know, or something which your background knowledge is not there on that particular type of reading material that you are reading. And in life we have to read so many things where you have to find some material where you are you don't have any knowledge, but your knowledge you will try to understand from reading the sentences, and that kind of material are called bottom up reading material or bottom up model. You can use it in the classroom. Bottom up reading of bottom up model says that your reading process is built up from the text that you are reading, the lines, the words, the meaning of particular words, and in the context that will make sense of what the particular text is going to communicate to you. Second model is top-down model. In top-down model, what we do in top-down model, you already know something. For example, we are talking about ELT, and tomorrow I'm giving you a piece on ELT, something, teaching skills or writing skills. But you know certain thing about that. So your background knowledge will help and come in addition and help you to understand that particular piece. You already know about something and you are reading that. So you don't rely on the piece of reading that you are in front of you already know about it, and so that kind of reading is your top down reading model. There is another model which is called interactive model. In interactive model, partly you know about the information and partly you are ignorant about it, right? So in the interactive model, you are not completely dependent on the text. No, neither you have total knowledge of the particular piece that you are reading. So it is an interactive model which comes in between bottom up and top down. So now my question is, when you are teaching the students, what should be the first, second, third way of teaching reading skills to the students? You can chat. You can put in the chat box. What is the easier way of reading? Which model seems easier to you? Are you listening, all of you? Okay, top down. Yes, because already, yeah, Preeti Kansari, yeah. Thank you for your response. Top down, certainly Because in top-down model, the reader already knows the information, right? Then which model? Then you probably go for your interactive model, because you yes, interactive, very good. And then finally you can go for the bottom-up model, where complete reliance is there on the text. Very good, good. So and this is how a teacher, a student can learn and teach reading, and this is how we can proceed and build up our reading skills, right? So if you give the top down, if you give a very difficult text in the beginning, when you are teaching a foreign language to the students, they will not be able to learn it. Fine, good. Now let me take you to the next slide. Writing has two, we use it, we have two approaches to teach writing. We called, one is your product approach and one is your process approach. What is a product approach and what is a process approach? Yeah, any idea on this? When you are teaching writing or learning writing, what is the product approach and what is a process approach? How can you write better? Because why are you talking about all these things? Because as I told you in the beginning, it is going to empower us. It is going to enrich our life. It is going to make us more resourceful. It will make us more capable for employment or service or entrepreneurship or for accessing knowledge or for anything. So if I am able to write better, I am better off from people who are not able to write better. Right. So what these two approaches which is adopted in the classroom for teaching and learning. Product approach is an approach where you are looking at the final product of a piece of writing. For example, your teacher is asking you to write an essay on a particular topic, and he is looking at the final product, which is an essay, perfect essay, which is written. In day one, I gave you write an essay on the topic of your best friend, right? And submit it on day third. So on day third, if you are submitting your essay, that becomes the final product. So that has been the wrong way of teaching writing skills. What is the right way is giving importance to the process. When you are starting when you are teaching writing, your main focus should be on, there are different stages, and you should take care of each stage, right? So what are the different stages? When you start writing, you need to know ideas. You need to have certain ideas. So you generate ideas. First you generate ideas, you plan, right? And you write an outline, and then you write the first draft, you revise it, you write the second draft, you revise it again, and you write the final draft. The final draft is written, then you go for your revision, you go for editing, and finally you go for proofreading, and then you again finalize the final draft. So if you would like the student to write good piece of writing, you have to probably give importance to, the teacher should give importance to the each stages of writing. And the students also, when you are writing an essay, don't first look at that I will be able to write a good essay. First you need to generate ideas. So process approach, if I can put it here, it should generating idea, you can write the first step. Okay, I am not writing, fine. So it will move like that, and you from this step you will have the final draft, right? It is the starting stage and it will go to the final draft. So like that. So each stage, if you are giving importance to each stage, then probably you will be able to write better. And good writer, they do this. Fine. Now let me move to vocabulary. When you are talking about teaching vocabulary to students or learning vocabulary, what we give importance to, let us look at it. When you are teaching learning vocabulary, varied opportunities for extensive reading. Your vocabulary become better when you are a good reader. You are reading a lot. So reading will enable you to learn good vocabulary. There are also, we use two terms called active vocabulary and passive vocabulary. Your active vocabulary are those words which you are using, and passive vocabulary are those words which you can make sense of, you can understand, but you are not using in your reading, writing, speaking, or in speaking. Right? You are not using it in your writing or in speaking, but when you see it in your reading or in listening, you can understand it. That is called passive vocabulary. Right? So what you need to do is, you should spend a lot of time in reading. Extensive reading helps vocabulary acquisition better. So that's why we are in the initial stages. In primary stages, we encourage the learners to read different stories, different poems, and all these things. So we encourage them, we make them good reader. Fine. Second point is your experiencing words in context. When you are, a word does not become meaningful if it is in isolated, isolated. If you are encountering that in isolation, it will not make much sense, because, as you know, any word has multiple meanings. If you look at a dictionary, it has a lot of meanings, and which meaning is, appropriate in that particular context is, it will be only, you can infer it from the right context. So teaching and learning of vocabulary can happen in particular context, because you can make sense of that particular word in that particular context only. Fine. Then learning about words as a series of interrelating systems. So when you are learning a word, it has some kind of interrelated connections. We call it collocations. One word collocate with other, so it has interrelated, systems. So that is something which helps. Inferring word meaning, as I told you, a word can be inferred. The meaning can be inferred from that particular, context. So that should be, we should create opportunities for ourselves and for our learners to infer the word meaning. Building good dictionary habits, activating word mnemonics. Mnemonics, what is mnemonics? It is, association. If you are uttering a word, what kind of association you bring to it. So that helps in, learning words better. Techniques as aids, for example, your translation, you can use realia. Realia means the real objects. You can bring a pen to the classroom when you are teaching them pen, show them a pen. You can bring pictures, you can, paraphrasing. All these things are different techniques through which we can teach them vocabulary. Fine. Then grammar has also, we can use these three approaches for teaching them grammar: inductive approach, deductive approach, and you have grammar in context. So what is inductive approach? Any comment? Inductive approach is when you are giving them a lot of examples, a lot of sample text, and you are not teaching them rules. So you are moving from different examples to the rule. When you are teaching them passive structure, you don't give them the, rule that you have to make the subject, object, and all these things. You give them a lot of examples. You give them text written in passive sentence. You bring newspaper articles as authentic material to the classroom and teach them the passive structures. And from there, you induce and you help the learner induce the rule. So that is inductive approach, and which is very helpful. What is the deductive approach? Deductive approach, you are starting with rule and moving towards example. You are first explaining the rule of passive structure, and then you are giving them the examples and asking them to use. So many people believe, and it has been proved, that inductive approach is a better approach, because your practice, your examples, that is, letting you understand the rule. Right? Suppose you are, driving and you don't know the rule of, traffic rule, but after, driving a lot, you are getting how people are moving in a very organized manner, and you are deducing, or you are inducing the rule from your practice. So that's a good approach of, teaching any skills, or here in this context, grammar. So grammar teaching, we are not starting with from rule to example, rather example to rule. That's inductive. And deductive is the other way. You are going from rule to your example. But in some cases, we can still make use of it. It's not a bad approach, but that demands the judicious use of deductive approach by the teacher and students. And grammar in context, most of the time in our classroom, when we were learning, we were taught grammar in isolation. We were taught passive structure, direct, indirect speech. We were taught, articles, definite articles, indefinite articles, and all, conjunction, and all grammatical items. But what the researchers suggest is that it is fine. But when you are teaching grammar, it is good if you are teaching them in context. I should not give an isolated one sentence of passive structure. Rather, I should give you a group of sentences in a context. For example, a newspaper article which is written in passive. I start with and I use that as a material, so that grammar become it has a context. And why we are giving importance to a context, because language is all meaning. It is not only form. I can use language and can mean something. That can happen. You have, and anything which is structurally acceptable, which is grammatically acceptable, may not be meaningful. For example, if you know Chomsky's famous statement, colorless green ideas sleep furiously. It sounds perfectly all right grammatically. It is well acceptable structure, but it is not meaningful. And that's why there is this kind of debate between your meaning and grammar. So anything which is grammatical may not be meaningful, right? Should I repeat the sentence what I said? Colorless green ideas sleep furiously. It is perfectly a grammatically correct sentence, but it is not meaningful. So any learning which is happening and teaching happening, it is happening or it should happen in a particular context. Meaning is more important than grammar form. That's why our whole attention should go to making language learning and teaching meaningful. Meaning is more important, and then we can move to the form. Grammar should come after meaning. Any language, whatever we have discussed, any point, either it is speaking, listening, reading, writing, grammar, vocabulary, the meaning part should be given primary importance, and then we should move towards the correctness, which is your grammar or the form. Fine. I think I should move to the next slide now. We have discussed this vocabulary, grammar. Now you have okay, vocabulary, grammar. Fine. Now you have something called the learner or the language learner. Fine. The language learner, you have a topic in your syllabus like this, the understanding the learner or something like that. So I could make sense of this, that when we are talking about the learner in a teaching learning process, learner is an active participant. You have two human factor here. One is a teacher and one is a learner, right? And the other are non-human factors, your materials, your methods, your classroom. These are non-human factors which are influencing your teaching learning process. But human factor is one is your teacher and one is your learner. So learner, when you are talking about, we talk about a concept called interlanguage. When we are talking about foreign language, we talk about a concept called interlanguage. Interlanguage is not the language of the mother tongue of the learner, neither the target language English. So it is in between. And interlanguage is a full-fledged language. It is not a derivative or derivatory term, but it is a language where you have a different kind of language, which is very unique in its sense. I think if you like to learn more, you can learn about it. But I'm just introducing you to this idea of interlanguage, which is the language learner's language. When the learner is learning a language, he is trying to approximate to the target language norms and the in between. So this is a continuum. In year one, the kind of language interlanguage which you experience, that in class 2 you will through a series of, this is called a continuum, right? Interlanguage is a continuum, and which is approximating to the target language. Then learners errors as strategies of learning. This is another concept which is discussed, is that there will be errors when someone is learning a language, and the errors are indication or indicators that the learner is learning that particular language. So what should be our effort as teacher? We should be tolerant of learners' error, and there are a lot of techniques and which are suggested for error treatment, error correction, and giving feedback. I'm not introducing all these things to you, but learners' error are good sign that the learner is engaged actively in learning process. And we should know, we should encourage that where the learner is not able to make sense of the language, so it is giving you a lot of indication where he needs help. So learner errors are an indication, so it lets you know. But what when the learner is not trying at all, you will not be able to see any error. So we should be encouraging the errors, or we should be encouraging them to learn, do something, even if it is they are making errors. Fine. And there are individual differences when there is one teacher, when there is the same classroom, some same everything being same, why some learner learn better, and how do we explain it? How can we explain that learner one is learning better than learner two, and how could we explain this phenomenon of differences, right? So these are a few factors in the psychology of educational psychology, which has contributed to this field, that these are a few factors which are attributed to the differences which happens in the learning process among learners. One is your age. Which is a better learner? A child is a better learner, or an adult is a better learner? There is a debate. A child is better in certain aspects, and an adult is better in certain aspects. So age is one factor which is accountable for the learner differences which exist. One is motivation. One we call it is extrinsic motivation and intrinsic motivation. Someone is has joined BA class or MA class just for the sake of a certificate. This is called your instrumental motivation. It is something where he is not taking a lot of interest, but he is for the instrumental purpose. He has joined the program, so he will not be motivated, and his learning will be certainly affected by the factor called motivation. One is an intrinsically motivated. He is taking a lot of interest, irrespective of the fact that what will be his score, and what he will he will be happy for getting a certificate, but he's enjoying the whole process of learning. So the learning will be much better. What is attitude? Your attitude. What is your attitude toward the target language group, toward the English people? If you have a good attitude, then you will learn better. If you have hostile attitude, you will not learn better. Then aptitude, you are certainly, you have certain aptitude. So some people are, they have linguistic aptitude, and they can learn it better. And some people are, they are artistically oriented, they may not be able to learn better. There are people who have different aptitudes. So your aptitudes will determine the speed and speed of language learning, and how well you learn a language. So there are different aptitudes which exist among learners. So these are four factors which have been identified. There could be many other factors like learning styles and all, but it has not been proved that as a important factor which is causing learner differences. But these are four factors which we studied when we are talking about individual differences, and that's learner. Then next point is your materials. When we are talking about any materials, we are talking about, these are few things which are important in materials. So when we are talking about materials, what are they? These are the books. You have the books. You have a non-print and print materials. Non-print material is your audio, your video, right? And you have your principles of selection, gradation, and presentation, which is adopted for designing a book, designing any material. What is called selection? You select material which is good for giving that kind of learning experience to the learner, and then you grade it. From gradation, one principle which you adopt is the grading from simple to complex. Unit 1 is simpler, and unit 10 is complex. So any learning process should move from known to unknown, and that's why this process we adopt in the textbook, writing and textbook selection. And authenticity, I have already discussed. Non-print materials, I think I have. So these are called, these are issues which we take up in materials. Fine. Then multiple intelligences. You have one factor in multiple intelligences. What is multiple intelligences? You would like to write anything on this? You can. What is multiple intelligences? This is one, it is Howard Gardner who has come out with this term, that when you are teaching the students, we are not teaching one kind of intelligence. There could be people who are musically intelligent. There could be people who are they are intelligent in other aspects. There are people who are visual learner. There are people who are kinesthetic learner, who could be someone who is good in linguistics, some in language, someone in mathematics. So there are different there are around nine intelligences which has been talked about by Howard Gardner. And why we have to give importance to it? Because someone who is not doing well in academics, we should not ignore that he is a very stupid fellow. He could be musically intelligent, and if you help him in music, he will be better off and he will do better. Someone is singing well, someone is dancing well, kinesthetic learner. Someone is body movement, and the learning can happen well if we encourage them in his own field. So why you have to give importance to these multiple intelligences in the classroom? Because you may not have one kind of students, and which is a fact that any class is a heterogeneous class, and people who are talented in different factors, they learn different things. So if you are asking them to go in one format, then it is the failure of our education system. And there is a very good graphics. I could not bring it. You cannot give a test to the elephant, to the squirrel, and to a bird, one kind of test, and you cannot declare that one person is is a dumb and one is a very good for nothing, right? Elephant is he has some talent. A squirrel, he can climb the tree very well, and the bird can fly, and a fish can swim. So you cannot have one kind of test, and you cannot say that all other people are, they are full, they are good for nothing. So that can happen in the education system also, and the people should be encouraged in different fields, and that should be integrated in these things. And how we are going to do that? You can have different you can have different prospects for different people. Also, this could, when you are designing material, we can also keep it. Someone is a visual learner, someone is a auditory learner. Someone learns better when we see, someone learns better when we hear, someone learns better when we do things. So all these things should be integrated in the material, so that it will address to all kinds of learner, which is a challenge definitely, but we should look towards that. So that is something which is multiple intelligences, and this is important in ELT, because ELT is something which is not only academics and you should learn, write, all these things, but you're in the classroom. In education, we don't talk about in ELT, but we talk about in general education. When it comes to ELT, how it is important in ELT? Because you should, in your ELT material, in your approach, in your teaching, in your material, in your assessment, you should have scope for multiple intelligences. You should not declare in one test that other people are dumb and they are full. They could be talented in some other way you might not be able to see, right? So it is the implications are there for the material writers, for teachers, for students, for people who are developing language tests. So that's how this concept, which was originally belong to the field of psychology, it is used here in ELT. Fine, you have something, become more successful at learning all subject, even improving them. Fine, okay, fine. So this is called multiple intelligences. Now I think I have completed my presentation. If you have any question and comment, please go ahead. Teachers can cite examples from areas where their intelligences lies. Yes, yes, certainly. It is a time-taking process, and there are many people who have devised many different tests. You can maybe you can look for those tests to discover what are you talented at, and what is something where you can do better. There are a lot of tests and ways to discover someone that uh, talent and intelligence. Okay, now I want you to come have any questions and comments. If there are any questions and comments. Yes, Krishanu sir, you can turn on your mic if you are listening to me.
Yes.
Now the students or any teachers or anyone who would like to comment, or if they have any question, I'll be happy to address that.
Okay, they will type the chat box.
Yeah,
Okay.
either they can type or they can speak to me, whichever is convenient to them.
Yeah.
Any point which is not clear, anything which anybody would like to ask, they can.
Uh,
Our faculty members who had been teaching the course,
Yes.
they should come up with the problems and other things
Yeah.
actually they have experienced.
Yes.
Is there Shobhan in this meeting? Shobhan, Shomir, or Debojoy. Debojoy also had some problem,
Yeah.
and he was talking about his problems actually yesterday. But
Mm.
Debojoy, if you repeat your question so that students also can share your views, our views.
Yeah. According to you, what is intelligence? Fine. Intelligence is one. I think there is some noise coming from Department of English, so you can turn off your mic for some time. Yeah. Fine. According to you, what is for if you are asking my opinion, intelligence is something where you are good at. Suppose you are able to dance well, so you can say that you are intelligent. So it is a kind of expertise in doing something well. If you are good at weaving someone, so it's a skill, right? There are called IQ and EQ. I'm not going to this technically how intelligence is defined, because there are a lot of debate around that. But one in a very layman's language, I can say that intelligence or your skill is something where you are good at something. You are good at mathematical intelligence. For example, you have looked at the cinema, this Shakuntala, right? She is good at in the numerical calculation, in multiplication, right? So that we can say that she was mathematically intelligent, numerical intelligence. Someone is good at in thinking, right? So that is called something, a different type of intelligence. So people can be intelligent in different way. So that's called intelligence. You are good at something, good at doing something. Okay, how far do we in India have to go pedagogically as far as being inclusive to the multiple intelligences of various language learners is concerned, sir? Fine, I appreciate your point for the question, Debujay sir, that in India, actually, we are moving forward to accommodate all, intelligences and multiple intelligences in the classroom. And as you are saying rightly, that making it inclusive, but it is a long journey. It is not something where we are happy where we are right now, because as you see, we have one format of understanding the language, understanding the learner. For example, we have one system of examination, and that's why people are being trying to accommodate this multiple intelligence factor, but it is still a long way to go. And probably we have created different other areas. Suppose if you in Kendriya Vidyalaya system, you have I think you have music class, you have dance class, you have other classes. So it is trying to accommodate different intelligences. But there are a lot of things to do. Most in government schools, in remote areas, schools, we have not done very well in this multiple intelligences area. But still there are scope, and people are being trained and being aware of this. So it is a process of evolution and growing up. I hope if you have further questions on that point, you please go ahead and type. My pleasure. But it's good. First point that which is important is that we are at least aware. We appreciate. We are not neglecting. We are not being judgmental and rejecting a child if he's not doing academically well. He might be good. I think you have looked at all of us. We have looked at Three Idiots, and that is the point which I think he is. It is well incorporated in this movie, that people can be intelligent in many ways. Someone is a very good, wildlife photographer, and if you send him to be an engineer, he'll not do good. So that's why it is important in the initial stages to recognize what the child is, is taking a lot of happiness in doing and what he's doing good. So he should be encouraged to do good in that particular field. So it is, though it is sometimes it's difficult to identify what someone is good at, but I think all of us we should try. There are a lot of tests which people go for to identify their intelligence. Yes. Any other question? Any comments? Anything that you want me to include for tomorrow's session? Tomorrow, I think we have a session on classroom. Challenges and opportunities. Either you can comment on today's thing, or if you are expecting any comment, your students can also so much debate over the standard from where English language learning process started school. What is your opinion? I could not get the question where. So much debate over the standard from where English language. Okay, I got it. So where it should be introduced at what level. My opinion on this of in the new education policy says that your mother tongue medium should be the mother tongue should be the medium of instruction from the beginning of education. For example, now it is suggested that at class 3 your education should be imparted in the mother tongue where the child is comfortable, right? Your new education policies say, and there are a lot of resistance in the southern part on them and by the English medium schools where they are starting introducing English from the very beginning. I believe personally that you should teach in a language where the child is comfortable with. The child will be able to relate to his world in his own language, what he is using, what the home language, what the parents and all the schools and what the society is using. So the kind of language you should make your teaching and learning as comfortable as possible to the child, right? So it will be much easier for the child to relate, and language is a medium which is relating to other things. It is helping the child to understand his world. So why not provide education in through a language which is comfortable to the child? So I believe what the education policy has said here, it has done a remarkable job of suggesting that let the education be done through the mother tongue of the child. So I believe that, but at the same time, I also believe that the child should also be introduced to the other languages, as the research has informed us that the child brains is very fertile from up to 8 years of age. So if you are introducing a language or many language up to 8 years, the child will pick up all the language. So multilingual education could be possible. And though you are providing the education through the mother tongue, let English be there side by side. So we can have a balanced approach. We are not saying like the English medium schools that all education should happen in English, and thereby what you are doing, you are not giving enough scope for learning the home language, learning the language of the society. And if you are not helping the child to learn the home language, he will not be very efficient in the use of language, and thereby he will not be able to communicate with the society. So he will not be able to connect with the root. So let many education, many languages should be learned at the same time. You should start with the home language and can allow other languages, including English. That's my personal opinion on it. A balanced approach, neither English nor home language at the cost of either one. So it should be both, or it should be more than one language. But education should happen in the language where the child is comfortable. Okay, another question. Only test is perfect to judge one's intelligence. Okay, only test is perfect. Okay, okay, you are saying whether the test, we should rely on the test. Yeah, there are many tests, but again there are a lot of debate on the reliability of the test, whether you can rely on the test. But you can, why people are going for test, because everybody is not so, this is called intrapersonal intelligence, and another term, interpersonal, and there is multiple, intelligences. When we are talking about intelligences, this is, one intelligence is intrapersonal intelligence, interpersonal intelligence. Intrapersonal intelligence people, they understand themselves very well, so they can have a good understanding of their weaknesses and their strengths, and they probably will be able to know what they are good at. But not everyone. That's why these kind of additional help comes in the form of tests. So tests will let people know, but test could also be wrong. So I'm not suggesting you to only, rely on the test. You can also rely on your own feeling, your own work, what you have done, and how you feel. But it could happen once you are little mature. It will not happen very well if the, students are children. They will not be able to reflect and understand their own strengths and weaknesses. But you are little mature, you'll be able to reflect on your strengths and weaknesses. If you like to go for a test, go for the test, but go with some kind of, maybe suspicion. You can think about whether test is saying right thing about you or not. So you don't have to 100% believe in the test, but you can go for test. So there are different tests, available. Right? Any other question?
So, hello, Gopal sir.
That's it.
I don't have any question, but I want to share my thoughts. Okay. So in the current situation, the present generation, so
Right.
who are the currently passed out students,
Mm.
so
Mm.
they are, they don't have any, or you can say they don't have many options for job. Okay.
Mm.
And all around the world, people are, losing their jobs, the permanent jobs, and throughout the world, governments actually, fail to provide secure jobs. So in this situation, for last 2, 3 to 4 months,
Mm.
actually what I am seeing, so once upon a time I was in this line, so that is why this is my experience. So for last 3 to 4 months, I am just watching the changing scenario of in the job field, and this is directly related to the communicative English or ELT, something like that. And I am watching this, I am seeing just like this, that many students, or you can say the scholars, who are, choosing the path of freelancing. Okay.
Right.
They are choosing the path of freelancing, and they are working for the clients of, from USA, UK, Canada, Australia, and they are making so much money that sometimes government fail to, give them. So uh, so the next generation, when, there will not be so much job options, so if they can, grab uh, the potentiality to communicate, effectively to each other, to other persons. So in this case, they can, choose the field of freelancing permanently, and they can easily, earn money in 6 figures or 7 figures. This is a very good option, I think, for the next generation.
Yes, that's, I wholly agree with you what you are saying, and that's why you have, more relevance of ELT. People,
Mhm.
they, that's why it is more relevant ELT now. Our MA program is affiliated to Punjab University, and Punjab University has totally changed its syllabus. And I
Mhm.
attended the, syllabus changing committee workshop which they conducted. And there this argument was happening that why are we learning something, why are we learning English, what should, after the MA, what the, the MA student is going to do, if they are going to a market, as you say, freelancing, if they are going for, publishing industry, if they are going for
Mhm.
media and all these things, why they are not studying all these things in the, MA syllabus. And that's why they have brought all these things in the new syllabus. Right now, the
Mhm.
Punjab University English, syllabus is, it has incorporated all these things, and students are given a lot of choices so they can pick up what they would like to do. So English is not only teaching them literature, which they may not find a market value. For example, if you know that I am a Shakespeare scholar, and if you are going to engineering college, they may ask you to teach communication skills, because the engineer, they want to communicate, and that's why you need to know. I'm not, by saying that, I'm not saying that literature is not something which is valuable, but it is valuable. But sometimes if you are looking at in the form of your instrumental value, and in the market, and money and all kinds of things, ELT is becoming very, very important, because it is directly related to the market, because people are doing things with the English language, and literature could be a part of it. Someone asks what is ELT and literature thing. Literature will help in the process of mastering ELT. There are literature department, and they are doing very well, and that this is ideas, and that is a higher order skills, that is perfectly all right. But if you look at the kind of engineering colleges and other industries, publishing industries, and if you go to outside world, so all these people, and if you would like to go to UK or USA or any country, you have to pass the test, where they will test your skills, all these skills: listening, speaking, reading, writing, and all that. Even if you are not going to teach them, you are going to do business there. Then you need to know how to do the communication and all, and that's why it establishes itself as a relevant field. I wholly agree with your comment, because all the time you cannot be dependent on the government and the government job and all these things. So you do something, and that's why now the call is for being self-reliant. You should do something where you will be able to independent, rather than waiting for a government job or some job outside. You can start your own startup. You can do some enterprises. You can do something. So English can be very helpful in that field, or any language, for that matter. But English is more important here in this current situation.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Any other comment, questions? I think we are done. There are no comments and questions.
Students, or may I say something to our students?
Yeah, please. Go ahead.
Dear students, if you have nothing else to say, then we can put a stop here. Okay. Tomorrow also you have another opportunity to interact with Dr. Gopal. Okay. Another question, Gopal, you have on the chat box.
Okay.
Some two questions.
Fine.
Or one
Okay.
of them.
Again, English language is a key to the global market. When you speak English, the world will listen to us. What's it? Yeah, I perfectly agree with this point perfectly, because this is a good medium of instructions, and you can reach the global audience if your voice will be audible. If you have a book published in Bengali, the audience will be less. If you are translating it to English, it will reach the global market. The audience will be more, then you can see the result of just for English. So that's one example of what the English language can, how the English language can empower you. So perfectly, or any field, you are a scientist, you publish something in Bengali, your idea will be limited to one location. But if you are publishing it in English, it can reach to everyone. So this is really empowering. Fine. Next is when we are talking of LSRW, how much is the serialization important? What is it? Serialization. Oh, you are asking that should you start from listening and then speaking and then reading and writing? I don't think so. You have to start in a very this way: listening, speaking, reading, writing. But it is language learning happens. People, when you learn your own mother tongue, before you spoke, you listen a lot. A child listens a lot, and then he picks up the words, and then he starts speaking. And writing and reading and writing comes little later. So in that sense, listening happens first, and so it is not that you first listen and you don't speak. It happens simultaneously. But how, if you would like to put a order, as you were talking about, if I got your point, if you, this is what I meant by your question, serialization, the order, you are asking the order, how it should be taught. One person will not start writing first. In very rare cases it might happen, but people listen and they speak and they read, write. But in the classroom when we are teaching it, all these things should happen simultaneously. This is called integrated teaching skills or learning skills. You are integrating. When someone is listening, he is speaking, and not only listening. But a child, for example, at 6 months, up to 6 months or so, before babbling happens, that he or she is listening a lot of language from the grandmother, from everyone in the family, and then babbling, and that's speaking one word, letter, sound, and then so this listening and speaking, it happens without formal training. You don't have to teach listening and speaking in your mother tongue. But in mother tongue also there are people who can speak, listen and speak, but they are not able to read and write. In the mother tongue, in Bengali also, you meet people who are able to speak and listen very well, but they will not be able to read and write. That requires formal training. But when it comes to the foreign language English, we need training for all these things: listening, speaking, reading, writing. And that not necessarily it can happen in this order. It can happen simultaneously, and it is good to integrate skill. You ask him to listen. On the same topic, in the same theme, you speak on that. On the same topic, you write. And this is called thematic integration of language unit. You have one theme, but on that particular theme, you have all these skills weaved around. Fine. Then why is English considered to be a library language in India? Because you have all the books written on your English is first, when it is introduced, it is declared a library language, because this is limited to your reading and writing thing. It was not officially declared as something which is a communication, a language of official communication, or people will talk. So it is limited to your reading and writing, and that's why it is a library language, because reading and writing, it is mostly happen for formal official purposes and not for informal day-to-day communication purposes. That's why it is a library language. It was considered a library language. You don't find a lot of people speaking in English. If they know a language which is common, they don't speak in English in India. Except there is called code switching and code mixing. If I know that's a different term in linguistics. Right? So that's why it's a reading and writing, because it was first limited to that function of official purposes, and it's a very good. I talked about the order of putting them. Yes, yes, I will. Hello, I'm not able to. Who is speaking there? I'm not getting it clearly.
Krishanu, please mute your device.
Gopal, please go ahead.
Yes, I'm done responding to the question. So if there are more questions, you can. Yes, are there more questions, comments?
I think we should stop here, because no more questions coming up.
Yeah.
And maybe that people are also hungry. Gopal,
yes.
Gopal, you too. So let us stop here. Let me just check whether our head of the department wants to say something to all of us.
Yes.
Yes, I just want to thank Gopal. This is really an amazing class. I think I just listened to it without any question, because I don't know anything of this. But after the class, I think that I have liked the subject, because I don't have any idea about this subject before this. And one thing, I'm very happy to know that after your discussion on intelligence, that after all, we the people from humanities are not as stupid as we are considered to be, because we do not have any interest in mathematics. uh, uh, so very good. I feel very good after listening to your lecture. It's really nice, really illuminating. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anandita, for the kind words. And I
Please
think
don't call me Dr. Anindita. Just call me Anindita. Well,
right. Thank you. Thanks a lot. I think we'll meet tomorrow. If you in between, if you have questions on classroom and all, you can let me know so that I can incorporate all these things. Kanak, you can share those questions which are there from either from the participants and colleagues, and share with me so that I can address those things. I can incorporate those things in tomorrow's presentation.
Okay. So thank you all. Thank you very much. Thank you, Gopal.
Thanks, Kanak.
So
Thanks,
yeah, for
everyone.
the
Thanks the
yeah
students and participants, colleagues, your colleagues,
yeah
everyone in the department.
you are most welcome. And we are going to listen to you again tomorrow. And eagerly, all of us are waiting for the moment. Okay.
Right. Tomorrow we'll meet for classroom. That will be specifically where today what I did, I introduced you to the everything, what is important, though very briefly of ELT. Tomorrow I'll be specifically speaking on classroom.
Yeah. So thank you, everyone. We can leave the meeting now and just wait for tomorrow. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Pulses. Thank you.